judge instructs the jury that it must uphold the law as he gives it to them, the judge is lying.
We're in an information war. The government wants to keep us ignorant of the fact that our duty as jurors is to judge whether a law is just and not just the facts of a case. I'm David Knight reporting for InfoWars. On April 19th, Dr. Julian Heicklen, a retired chemistry professor, won an important battle in the InfoWars. His battlefield? Informing jurors of their rights and duties. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder's office had charged Dr. Heicklen with jury tampering because he was standing in front of a federal courthouse exercising his right to free speech by handing out pamphlets informing people of their rights and duties as jurors.
Are you placed under arrest?
You're under arrest.
Dr. Heicklen, you've been arrested, held without bail for 20 days in Orlando, under indictment for 18 months in New York. You've been through a lot to get this information out.
Well, in one sense, yes. I mean, it required a certain amount of work, a certain amount of money, and a certain amount of exposure, but I've been doing this for a long time and knew how to handle these situations, and I had the pleasure of knowing that it was more of an ordeal for the police and the courts than it was for me.
That's right. This wasn't your first rodeo. You've been how long have you been doing this? 60
years.
Wow.
And I've been arrested in Springfield, Massachusetts, and that's been dropped, and in Newark, and that's been dropped, and in Santa Ana, California. And so what they did is instead they charged me with jury tampering because this was a real crime as opposed to passing out pamphlets without a permit.
Right.
But I've been to courts all over the country. I've now been to 40 federal courts. I've made 65 appearances at 40 federal courts and 16 appearances at 8 county courts. I'd been arrested 14 times, 11 times at the New York court. My photographer was arrested also. They dismissed the charges against him, and they dismissed the charges against me.
So tell us this information that you're willing to go to jail in order to educate people.
The pamphlet that I usually put out was called a primer for prospective jurors, but I had an insert of my own in it which had a very short summary of what the thing was all about. That the judge will instruct the jury that it must uphold the law as he gives it. He will be lying.
Mm-hmm.
The jury must judge the law as well as the fact. Then I said, juries were instituted to protect the citizens from the tyranny of government. And it is not the duty of the jury to uphold the law. It is the jury's duty to see that justice is done.
That's the key thing. If we don't want to be ruled by tyrants, we have to make sure that our neighbor gets justice, and a big part of that is refusing to convict for unjust laws. But do Americans understand that anymore? Let's say that it was something that you didn't agree with. Let's say that the state was prosecuting somebody for selling raw milk, and you didn't think that was really a crime. But they clearly did sell the raw milk. You know, would you vote to convict them?
A juror's duty is to not be partial based on their own personal feelings. It's to kind of take their personal feelings out of it to judge like what the law says, and if that person is operating under the law. Of course, you know, as a human, you're always going to have those own personal thoughts or ideas or whatever, and that can sway, but I'm not sure if that should.
And it's not my place to see that justice is done, just the facts of the case.
Let's say that you're on a jury, and would you think that your responsibility was to just judge the facts of the case and how it applied to the law, or to see that justice was done?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, if you go by the book definition, we're supposed to judge the facts of the law. I don't know, maybe it's idealistic to think that we should maybe look beyond that.
Let's say that it was a law that you didn't agree with. Would you still convict the person, or would you go against the judge's instructions?
I don't know what I would do, but most jurors take their responsibility very seriously, and they do what the judge instructs them is the law. The purpose of the judge is to instruct the jury.
So if it was a law that you really thought was unjust, and the person clearly had broken that law, would you vote to convict them or not?
Yes.
You would.
I would vote to nullify the law.
And even if you didn't agree with the law, you would go ahead and convict, do you think? Or
I think theoretically that's what we're supposed to do.
if they were clearly guilty of selling the raw milk, would you still convict them?
I would defend them as much as I could, because I don't. Cause in a case like that, if I didn't agree with the law and I thought it was either irrelevant, irresponsible, or just plain stupid, or infringing on our rights, I would absolutely do anything I could to defend it.
Yeah, I concur with that.
Would you look to see that justice was done, or would you follow the law or the instructions?
The thing is, it's not the task of a jury to judge whether the law is good or bad.
It's not your job as a juror to decide which laws are valid and which laws are not.
Yeah, my take on talking to people is that some of them would be guided by their conscience or feelings, and some of them would be ruled by what they are told as a law, but nobody I talk to on the street knows that the supreme law is that juries are to judge both the law and the facts. In fact, only one Supreme Court justice has ever been impeached. The first article of impeachment against him was for not telling the jury that they had the right to nullify the law. Let me repeat that. A federal Supreme Court justice was impeached for not telling a jury that they had the right to nullify the law. And that was in a case of an armed tax rebellion. He didn't tell them they could nullify the law in an armed tax rebellion.
But it turns out that in the constitutions of 24 states, that is required. One of the states is New York. And I pointed out to them that, in fact, that's in Article 1, Section 8 of the New York Constitution, that the jury has the right to judge the law as well as the facts. So then they sort of changed their argument a little bit. They said that, well, maybe that's legal, but the jury's not supposed to be informed. No, I'm not kidding. This was in a opinion that the U.S. attorney submitted to the court. The lawyers are instructed that they're not to mention jury nullification in court, or they'll be found in contempt.
Wow.
Or disbarred or something. I mean, so that they don't bring it up.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I bring up whatever I want.
Well, of course, the first problem is getting a jury trial. Only 1.7% of federal cases go to trial, because if you can't count on your fellow citizen to protect you against unjust laws, most people will just plea bargain. And even if you get a jury trial, there's no value in it if the jurors are rubber stamps for the government. You know, we have to remember that important checks on government tyranny were won by jury nullification. Freedom of religion was established by jury nullification in the trial of William Penn, and freedom of the press was won by jury nullification in the trial of Peter Zenger. But jury nullification is still a very powerful weapon. It's just like educating people about the Federal Reserve or Agenda 21. We have to point out that the emperors have no clothes. And if you have any doubts about that, just look at how these federal marshals in New Jersey react to a literature handout.
Judges explain to the jurors what they need to know. Okay? I'm just asking you guys what you're handing to the jurors. What information are you giving to the jurors? Can I ask you for your name?
I'm not going to tell you my name.
Can I ask you for your name?
You can ask.
Okay.
Just wanted to say hi. How you doing? You know,
one more time, what information are you trying to give to the jurors?
What's in your hand?
What can you explain it to me? You're passing it out. I need to know from you.
I would choose not to.
Okay, well, why not?
Because it'd be better for you to just look at it yourself than for me to try to summarize it.
Are you telling me you don't know what the information is you're handing out?
I've read it.
Explain it to me.
Why don't you just read it?
Well, I need you to explain it to me.
I choose not to.
Look, you're just badgering us.
I'm not badgering you. I'm asking you a question. If you're out here handing out information to jurors, I need to know what it is.
Can't approach a citizen unless you identify yourselves. That's the law. You fellas have to give us. I am a.
We're finished here.
You'll give me your names and your ID number. What's your name?
When you give me your name, I'll give you mine.
No, I'm not obligated to give you my name. You are obligated to give me your name. You're obligated to give me your name. I don't have to tell you.
I just explained to you what I need to explain.
I just explained to you what it is. Ready?
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Heicklen, for taking the time to talk to us today. I know you've got a very busy schedule and you're traveling a lot.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You're doing me a favor, too. You know, the only way we're going to win this battle is through publicity and getting the public aroused. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, they just put you away and do whatever they want with you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We're either going to hang together or we're going to hang separately in this information war. And thank you for watching. This is David Knight for InfoWars. Good day.